Puja Swamiji, when he was young and in the jungle, spent 11 hours a day standing on one foot. Why? His guru was not in the muscle building business. It was not that he was, training Puja Swamiji to win some sort of yoga competition or athletic competition award. Why do we stay up all night? The body needs sleep, we know that. Why do we go without food, go without water? Simply to teach ourselves that we are not just a stimulus response reaction. We are not Pavlov's dogs. There's a consciousness in us. There's a purpose of our life that is not just eat, drink, respond to instinct. And in our spiritual practices, that's where we gain that ability. We all know you're going to go back to eating again. We all know you're going to drink water again. We know you're going to sleep again. But the reason that we practice these austerities is to have the experience of, my stomach is growling. It's sending all the chemical and electrical patterns that say eat. But today is my fast. I'm not eating. And the signals come, the temptations come, you smell the food. But today is my fast. And what that does is it develops an awareness within that says, yeah, my body may be screaming for food, maybe screaming for water, maybe screaming for sleep. But I'm sitting up all night doing japa. It's Shivaratri. It's Purnima. It's whatever day I've decided I'm going to sit up all night. My body may be screaming, but I'm fasting. And it's not about torturing the body. People think of penance and austerity as this way of torturing ourselves. No. It's simply to give us the experience of all of the neurons are firing. They're all saying, eat, drink, sleep. And I'm not doing it. And look, I'm still here. The wave comes, the wave that says eat comes, the wave that says sleep comes. I don't respond, and I'm still here. There is an I that is not the response to the stimulus. There is an I that is not just the feeder of my desires. And when we connect with that, then that stays with us through our lives, even though, of course, we go back to sleeping, we go back to eating. But just the awareness. When I first came to Rishikesh, we have these prayers in the satsang hall in the morning from 5 to 6. And they're no longer compulsory because we have so many other yoga and meditation programs now that run at the same time in English. But at that time, they were compulsory. And I was not used to sitting on the floor, and it's an hour. And as I would sit, I could sit about 25 or 30 minutes before my knee and my hip started just screaming in pain. And most of the time, what I would do when that happened was I would just change the cross of my legs or sit in a different position. But every once in a while, I developed a meditation technique of I will not change my legs. Doesn't matter how much it hurts, doesn't matter how much my hip is burning or my knee is screaming. I will not change my legs. I will not move. I don't care if I'm itching. I don't care if there's a fly on my nose. I will not budge. And it's an incredible experience, and it's one that I really recommend, even though normally in our meditation, If you need to change the cross of your legs, you do it so that you can go back to having your awareness be on your mantra or be on your breath or be on the divine. We don't want our awareness and our meditation to be on our knees or hips. But every once in a while, it's an incredible practice to just set an alarm and say, until this alarm goes off, I am not budging. Because what it does is, the pain comes, the itch comes, and you look at it. You don't push it away. And this is really the fundamental key that I'm getting at. When the temptations come, we don't push them away. It's not I'm not going to think about chocolate. Because then, as I always say, what are we doing? Thinking about chocolate. I mean, the center of my awareness is still chocolate, whether I'm thinking about chocolate or not thinking about chocolate. My consciousness is still filled with chocolate. If I say to you, meditate, but whatever you do, don't think about ice cream. Well, what are you going to think about? Ice cream. Even if what you're doing is not thinking about ice cream, your consciousness is now full of ice cream. So it's not about pushing that away. It's actually about recognizing it, seeing it, acknowledging it, but not giving into it, knowing it's a reaction. It's there, whether it's a reaction of my body, an itch to move my leg, to move my hip, to eat something. Whether it's a temptation that's come because of the media, because of advertising. Whoever's given me this temptation, and whether it's a temptation just to scratch my leg, or smoke a cigarette, or drink alcohol, or cheat on my spouse, or cheat on my taxes, or whatever I'm tempted to do. We don't get anywhere by pretending it's not there. When we really, really win is when we can look at it, see it, and not be overpowered by it. And that was the technique I developed in my meditation, was instead of trying to ignore my hip or ignore my knee, I would literally turn that into my meditation. I would stare at, in my mind, at my hip that was hurting or at my knee that was hurting. And what you find is, when you actually look at it, the power becomes much less. It's very macho when your back is turned, shouting at you from behind your back. But the minute you actually turn around and stare at it, it's nothing but an itch or a pack of cigarettes or a piece of cake or whatever. And to recognize you are divine. We spent all of last night talking about that. You are divine. You are not a slave to a chemical and electrical pattern in the brain. And here's the exciting part. And I'll end this piece with this. Here's the exciting part. Habits form in our mind. This is what we call, in spiritual semantics, we call it a sanskara. In scientific semantics, we call it a neuronal network or a neuronal pattern. And here's the exciting part. We can change them. If every time you are tempted to eat chocolate, you do, what you are doing is strengthening the pattern that says, when this network fires, I eat. Similarly, if every time you feel angry, you throw a temper tantrum, you're doing the same thing. If every time you feel angry, you slap someone. The Western model of psychology says, let it out. You need to get it out. You're not getting it out. It's not going anywhere. You can't, unfortunately, vomit out your anger or pain. People try, cannot do it. doesn't get out. What it does is it lays an even stronger network and pattern that says, this is how I respond to anger. And every time you do it, you strengthen that network, you deepen that sanskara. And so the way not to do it is actually to lay a different sanskara, a different pattern. So instead of having a temper tantrum every time I get angry, I sit down, I close my eyes, I breathe, I chant my mantra. I take a walk in the park, I light a candle. Whatever I do. Put $10 in my charity jar. Let some charity benefit as I overcome my anger. Whatever it is, you lay a new pattern. And slowly, 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 that pattern becomes deeper than the previous one. And this is the way that we do it. Not by pushing it away or controlling it through discipline. Because all that does is it just causes you to contract. Then there's so many things in the world that you're contracted from. And spirituality is not about contraction. It's not about withdrawal. It's about openness. But it's about openness with the awareness that the path of divinity, the path of spirituality, the path of devotion, the path of yoga has so much more to offer. The joy I get from a piece of chocolate cake is nothing compared to the joy that I get in my spiritual practice. So it's not a path of renouncing joy. It's a path of experiencing a much greater one. And that's what we do. So it's not about pushing things away, but rather embracing something that is much deeper, much fuller, and much more real. And then the temptations just drop off automatically.